Oh, okay. I know.
Oh no, I lost my voice.
Excuse me.
Hi, Sean, how are you?
It's now 7 o'clock. I'm going to ask that we can postpone the meeting for approximately 5 minutes. Oh, he's here. Never mind. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you to stand. Or please make sure your phones are off if you could, just in case the rain doesn't disrupt us. Do the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Anybody like to do the invocation? Okay, no volunteers, so we'll move to the next action. The approval of last month's minutes. I'll give you a little bit to look it over. You have a copy?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't even have my book.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, this is my first time, I'm a little nervous, but I did not do a roll call, so I'm going to go ahead and start now. George Coons?
Here.
Risa Briggs?
Yep.
Hank Mass?
Yep.
Bill Starnes? Here. Robert is here. Fire Chief Steve?
Here.
All is present, thank you. Does anybody have anything on the agenda, or on the minutes they'd like to bring up? You still reading it? I'm good.
Yeah.
I haven't got a copy of the minutes. Where are they at?
I had some down there, I can make you another one if you didn't get it. I'll make it for you.
Are they available for public as well?
Yeah, I printed out 10 copies, I can print more out if you need more.
Yes, please.
Agenda.
Yeah. I can or you can. And then you tend to. What is it? Oh.
The minutes. Jane, Jane.
They're the unofficial.
Well, they probably don't match somebody else's.
They got altered
Well, this happens to judgment. I only don't Yeah, I know. Well, they just try to shut that down. Anything
Thank you for your patience. It was brought to my attention that the minutes will be handed out because there are some corrections that will be made. So we want to make sure that we'll get them all done, and then we'll go ahead and we'll have Jerry put them on the website. Everything will be printed, or when they do get to where they should read what happened.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of that. Mind repeating it, please?
The whole thing?
Oh, well.
The minutes will be handed out after there's some things in there that people want to talk about. So those will be handed out after that. We'll also have Jerry put it on the website, we get that approved. And then we'll also, after it is all done, we'll put some in the box out here for people. And I'm sure the board will get an email to them.
Excuse me,
Yes.
you're not going to pass out the minutes?
As the
How
second,
are we going to look and see whether they're accurate or not?
you didn't get them then? Because the board should have them, they're all emailed to us. If you didn't get them, I'll make you a copy.
Here, I have a copy.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to look it over, George, and give me a few minutes, and then we'll, in case you see anything in there you don't agree with? issues with the minutes?
Yeah, the motion that was made in the old business in the third paragraph, the meeting continued with a motion by, should be Hank. And then the second should be by Robert. Just needs to be swapped around.
Anything else, Hank?
I think that's it.
Bill?
I don't see anything.
The other thing I think that's pertinent is the meeting continued with a motion by myself, but it doesn't say why the meeting went the way it did. It was because of the treasurer's report and addresses being posted on the treasurer's website, I believe. On the state's website, address and phone
Oh,
numbers.
you mean the Secretary of State?
Mhm.
You want that in there?
Well, I think it should be. It's pertinent because if I recall, George asked if you and him could meet with Steve after the meeting, and that's where everything went south.
Yes.
That's all under old business, though.
Correct.
Okay. First paragraph.
And on the,
Robert,
oh, sorry.
when you're done, I've got a couple comments about the minutes as well.
Okay,
so
okay.
If you don't mind.
Robert spoke to Susan Shepherd. I made an erroneous statement, but in fact, I had documentation that it looked like the board, and the rest of the board did agree with me, it looked like the board sent for the Freedom of Information Act, which I asked and nobody was aware of it. So it came with the Lookingglass Rural Fire Department letterhead and the envelope. So it looked like it was coming from the district, so we decided that in the best interest of the district, it was to send a letter asking that we didn't want it. As a private citizen, you can, but I just believe that if you want to do it as a private citizen, you should not be looking like it's for the Lookingglass Rural Fire Department, stating your position. Go ahead.
Okay, I feel like the board still has some unanswered questions. The board as a whole, okay?
And these questions about,
Well, you wanna get into it now?
well, no, I can talk about it anytime you like.
Okay.
But I just prefer, I believe that as we talked about at the board meeting after you, George, left, that if the board asks for it, we vote on it, it's approved, and then it's sent in, but
Well,
that
because,
was never
okay,
done.
the reason I'm saying that is because the board had a contract, and the board had specifics.
Mhm.
So the board, if you want to still be included, even though you weren't on the board at that time, still has unresolved questions.
But I think it should have went before the board to see if we wanted to follow that path.
Okay?
Roy?
I believe that in writing these minutes, that Mrs. Briggs started editorializing these and made comments in here that were not in the meeting, and to be in compliance with the public meeting law, this must be a representation of the meeting, not a personal comment. In fact, there's a personal comment made in here that I did something, and that's totally inappropriate. That's a comment, that's editorializing, and that's not your privilege in doing the minutes to editorialize them. Your job is to merely report the content of the meeting, and I want that out of those minutes. That's not what happened at that meeting, and I don't want them reflected in this minutes, because I was not wrong. I was correct.
In what issue exactly?
And what issue happened to be about making reference about the budget committee, where you spoke to the fact that Roy Palmer was mistaken when he suggested bringing last year's budget committee. You don't get to make that comment, Mrs. Briggs. That's not your position in these minutes to make that comment. I wasn't mistaken. I was correct. And if you want to debate that, we can debate that all along, but you don't get to editorialize the minutes when you write them. You speak to what went on in the meeting, and I take offense.
And I
To
listened
what?
to the video several times.
You don't get to editorialize them.
I'm not editorial.
Yes, you are. By commenting that I made a mistake is not your privilege. You want to make a mistake, you come in an open meeting and make a comment to me. But you don't get to, after the fact, watching a video, make a comment that becomes public record. That's not your right. You don't get to do that. And I want it out of here. That wasn't part of the meeting, and I was not wrong.
It was part of the meeting because it's
It
in the
was not.
video.
Where in the video did it say I made a mistake?
It
Excuse
is-
me, wait a minute. Where in the video did it say that I made a mistake?
Well, you're not saying you made a mistake.
Then you can't say that.
Okay.
You're editorializing these, you're adding Reese's comments to these. You don't get to do
I
that.
understand if you want that removed, but you don't have to stand there and be that critical either.
Yes, I do.
No,
Because
you don't.
you took privilege with these minutes and started editorializing. We had a copy of the minutes. Where are those minutes that were taken it while you were gone?
I have those, they're in the end of these minutes.
Well,
I
they're not
looked,
the same at all.
they're exactly the same, they were taken from the video.
Anyway, Mr. President, I want that taken out. That's not what happened. That's not what it went down. My job was to make a point. The point was, you didn't have to replace your entire budget committee.
Well, that's what it sounded like you said.
And you
That's not
don't.
what I got
I
out
didn't
of
get
it.
that.
Well, okay, understand, now this is a video. Now, I wasn't the only person listening to the video. I went over it several times. If I heard you incorrectly, I'm sorry. But understand, I write down what I hear, what I hear. If it's not correct, I will correct it.
Well, it's far from correct, and it's editorialized on your behalf.
Thank you. Is there anything else on the approval? So we're gonna table last minute, or the approvals
Yes.
for last month, so they're rewritten, and we'll bring it up again at the next meeting. I'm gonna go ahead with Bill and the treasurer's report.
I did a little different than everybody else, I guess. I also added the Umpqua Bank, the Umpqua Bank First Community, and I also put in the water, and I put in how much we paid per month and how much credit we have on that, and the Douglas Electric. So if anybody wants to look at it, you have an idea. Going through the checks, I ran into one hang up. There was a check written that was not on the approval list or the treasury report last month for $6.46. And so I balanced everything out and we're right on the money though.
Bill, who's the check made out to?
It was made out of 2 Visa.
Me, because I brought that in.
Yeah.
It was at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay, well, it wasn't, I didn't see it on the approval list, so I just added it on this one and.
Right, because I showed it to you
Right.
earlier about the,
Well, I didn't see it,
Yeah.
the receipt
right.
until later, so I
Yeah,
just.
exactly.
Okay.
It was
But
just
anyway,
the staples.
Yeah, anyway, it was all.
It was for the whiteout that's in the drawer.
Also,
Okay.
Lisa wanted to bring up, because I'm not knowing what's going on, the First Community Bank of the $22,511.11 plus
$1.63.
63. She and George is going to take that and she's going to explain what's going on with that.
Okay, I don't know if you look at the treasurer's report, there is now a $22,000, let's see, $22,511, and $1.63 of that has to come out, because that's what there was one more interest payment on the equipment fund, so it'll go into US Bank. The other money will be transferred. George and I are gonna go down tomorrow and close out the credit union account. We've been waiting for all the checks to clear. And we got a notice that Kim called me from Amerititle and the Mangrum account. They resold the property, and so the new people bought it, paid it off. All we'll get is a 1099 in January, so we have to watch for that. And so that's settled. So now we can close the credit union account, and it'll all be in the two different banks.
Should Bill be with you when you go to the bank, do you think he's the treasurer?
He can, but I don't wanna have 3 people, and George and I are the ones that the credit union has on file for the signatures.
Which credit union?
Federal, FCCU, First Community Credit Union.
I got a
Yes.
question.
George?
Once we pick up that check, what do we do with it?
Correct.
And the remainder then is going to Umpqua
Are
for
we
the
going-
operations.
Are we going to do that or bring it back and give it to Bill to deposit?
Robert, isn't it, or,
Doesn't matter.
I'm a little confused, and maybe Roy can clarify it for me. Aren't you acting
Yes.
now?
Yes.
So, can I, how does that work, Roy? Can you clear that up for me?
I don't totally know your question.
Well, the bank account check Risa, and I don't have a problem with it, but I just want to make sure that it's
Well,
right.
you're probably gonna have to use whoever is associated with the account to get it cleared,
Okay,
because it's done with names and with people. So
right.
I would suggest you use Mr. Coons and get the account cleared out and transfer it over to where you can manage it for the rest of your stuff.
Consequently, that was the reason I asked who we turn over the check to, whether you want us to turn it over to Bill or go ahead and deposit it at Umpqua.
I would deposit it on Umpqua.
I think it's safer to go directly there.
Yeah, so it doesn't, yeah.
Why don't we go to US Bank then?
The $1.60.
Let's just do it.
Not a big deal.
And so you know, on the treasurer, all three of us went down the day after the meeting and we were approved at the new bank. No questions on the bills. I'm gonna entertain a motion to pay the bills.
So make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any news on the credit card? I was just wondering about that. If it's I gave it some thought, and if it's so hard to get one, maybe we should get a Visa or a MasterCard that's got an amount credited to it, so it works off of your money that you pay towards it. Have we thought of that? Because there's times that Steve needs funds and he doesn't have them. So I'm just trying to, because it seems that we gotta jump through a hoopla with getting credit approval.
Have you heard from Megan or
No,
anyone?
Nothing, haven't heard a word. I don't know if they even
Well-
have my phone number saved down there. I'll check on it tomorrow.
Well, we'll be there tomorrow.
Okay,
So,
we go check it and let you know,
yes, I'll ask them one last time.
because I haven't heard.
Are you talking about a debit card?
No, this is actually like a credit card that we're gonna put funds on because we're having a hard time getting approved for a credit card because they go back and do a substantial credit check. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a selected amount, and I think at one time we talked about 2,500 if I'm not mistaken. So that way he has funds to work off of, and as it gets low, he obviously will tell us, and then we'll just recharge that card. So he's not inconvenienced by using his own money or anything like that, or any funds that are in the fund account.
That's why I only have to pay one check instead of 13.
Yes, ma'am?
Some of those prepaid credit cards have a maximum amount that you can put on them.
Okay, we'll find that out tomorrow, Bill. Can you check on it?
She's gonna check on the back when she's
Okay,
there.
okay, thank you. Okay, so bills are gonna be paid tonight. Communication report? Hank?
You're gonna have to excuse me, because I didn't even have time to go to the house to get my folder, as everybody noticed. I just got out of my service truck, but I have 4 copies of a format for the website policy that Roy had given me, and what I'll do as soon as I get home is I'll just email them to all the board members. That way we all have them, and then print them off, and they'll all be here for Jerry and everybody. I'll email them to you too, Jerry. And for public wise, I'll try to be a little bit more prepared and have them printed off for the next meeting so we can vote on them. Just,
Are these just lists of
they're just a
suggestions?
They're just like what we did with Steve's evaluation deal. We just had, and then we just chose one that most fit us, I think.
But like I said, I offered to put them in our policy format. Do you need me to do that?
What? I think we should look at them first, right? Is
Well,
that what you mean?
I just do a draft,
Yeah,
just like we did with the other policies,
with.
ethics and all that.
Well, let's look at them first, and then we can go from there.
All right.
Like I said, I'm sorry I didn't get to bring them tonight. I was gonna have my wife bring them over, but.
I would like to ask all the board members, when you get those, please just, and Steve also, sorry, and Jerry, would you please just send to me then any and all comments on them? Because that way it makes it easier for me to start putting the format together for the policy format.
In other words, pick out the ones we think we like the best.
Sure. Or add to it, or change it in any way, and then that way it'll just be farther down the road. Okay, thanks, Hank.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
In the documents I sent Hank, 3 of them really spoke more to social media stuff, we may find when we look at those, and that was the first thing I sent Hank, and I thought maybe we'd have a little conversation even tonight. If there is not what he's looking for, we can get a wider search of the state. That was the first blush of information. One of them did an okay job, the one I told you about, I thought
Right.
did a better job, but I think it's gonna take some help from Jerry and some other people to deal with what gets posted and how that works. It did an okay job, but I think for what you're exactly looking at, it only got elements of it. So that, just to share with the board, there were 4 of them there, but a lot of it dealt with policies, dealing
Yeah, it
with
was
the use of social media and who gets to and how you use social media and districts' computers and those sorts of things. So if in that you don't find what you're looking for, and I would suggest you don't spend a lot of time creating something at this point, Risa, till you really settle on something, because you might be doing a lot of work that,
It's just a draft, so.
well, there's 4 of them, a couple of them are pretty good size, so
Yeah.
you may have to do some slicing and cutting and dicing to come up with what you're looking for.
Hey, did we get anywhere on the mission statement? We're gonna work on that?
Yeah, I did come up with them, and I'll as well,
That's it?
I'll add that to it,
Thank you.
so everybody has that too. You too, Steve.
Great. All right, we have any public comments at this point? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was discussed several months ago about drafts of the minutes being put in the box out there for for tonight's minutes, and I've never been able to see and find any out there, so we can have a little idea of what's coming up.
And I understand that, and I just think that we should probably go through the minutes like tonight and fix the problems that we have before, when we finalize it, then I think it's better, it's said and it's done. I just think that would be a better for the community, because that way nobody could misconstrue anything that's said that shouldn't have been said, something that's on there that isn't supposed to be on there.
Gary, I always put 5 copies out after the
I
minute.
don't know, I stopped several times.
Okay, well,
They're gone.
that's good for me to know, because if 5 isn't enough,
I
I'll
stopped
start,
again last night.
putting 10, okay?
But that's fine, what Robert said.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I guess this is my turn, but just an advisory, and of course, I'm in an advisory role, statutorily, that you must make the draft and minutes available to the public within a reasonable period of time after this meeting. So your response, and when they speak to reasonable period of time, a meeting like this, I can only imagine that within a week, your secretary has those in a draft form, then anybody who would want a copy of that draft is entitled to a copy of the draft minutes. And that's the public meeting situation. So just bear in mind, they need to understand, they should articulate in them that these are indeed draft.
Okay. So
And
just
once
put
they
across the
become
top.
official, then they become official. But I think what's happening here, your community gets an opportunity to look at it once the draft is finished in a reasonable period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There was also a question based on the same thing as the video. And I told Jerry, no, not until the minutes are approved, but what does everybody think about the videos?
I was gonna bring that up under new business.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any more?
2 more.
Sorry. Barbara, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I stopped at the box and pulled out the minutes, got home, showed Gary I had minutes, and they were December of 2014.
Okay. I'll just put more
Make sure,
out.
and we'll rotate, throw the old ones out.
If you put watermark draft on them, then they're,
Yeah, I
then
wrote that
everybody
down.
will know, won't
I
be
wrote that
confused
down,
with
so
the
we put a
original.
draft across it.
Yeah.
Jerry, do you have something?
Yes, you have down at the bottom of the first page of the agenda, 2 board member seats open, president and vice president, 2 asterisks, and it says later that action is needed on that. So I'd like clarification about the action, and also, I'm confused that it says only 2 seats are open. I thought at a previous meeting, a couple months ago or whenever, I don't remember if it was Roy or somebody else, said people who were appointed to the board only serve out for this year, so that they would be up for those positions also.
When I wrote this, it was just until the vote comes up, and that's on the agenda to talk about for people that need to be voted on. So right now, the president's seat is vacant. I'm the vice president, I'm acting as president. So that's why I put that there. I didn't personally, and I was gonna bring that up, right? President and vice president, that wasn't on my agenda. So,
Yeah, it's only because we have to clarify who is president and vice president with a vote.
Okay, are you talking about then the officer positions?
Yes.
Not the board member positions up for election?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Two officers.
Anybody else?
Was it in the paper?
No, but we got past that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Chief's report? Steve?
Last month I gave you guys a kind of outline, so I'm gonna do the same thing tonight. I'll try to go fast, there's a lot of stuff going on. I got a few more.
Yeah, unlike me, right?
Okay. Calls this month for Jerry. February was the slowest month we've had since I've been here. I guess that's a good thing. We had 7 calls, 6 medical and 1 public assist at lift. There was no fires. One of our medicals was over in 10 miles in mutual aid. Special announcements. So the big thing, it's right up there on the wall, is this weekend Mike Koppel services for the chief, the former chief of 10 Mile. 2 o'clock at the Douglas County Fairgrounds. We're providing a crew and an engine to cover 10 Mile during the funeral so that all their people can go. So we'll have our people over there from 1:30 till about 5. Chief Williams is conducting the service as a chaplain down at the fairgrounds. We're also going to hard cover here, which just means we're going to have a manned unit here also. And then I've also talked with Douglas 2, and they're available at Melrose 5, and they're available downtown. So if we need any help across this whole wide area, all that is call them. And so we'll have people waiting just in case. That's the plan. Anybody that's not on our units, is encouraged to attend that funeral, and we have several of our people are going to be attending. Training, emergency medical responder training, we're just about done. We did our written tests on Sunday, and everybody that's in the class passed, thank goodness. We got our final written skill stuff Thursday. We're going to start at 6. It may go to another week. After we're done with that, there's a certification fee of $23. The initial one is 40. I have to print off the exact thing. I put it in the bills for next month. It's $43, I think, per person. The first plus one person. If you haven't lived within the state of Oregon for 6 years, you have to get fingerprinted. So we're paying the fingerprint fee, and he has already done that, or he's going to be doing that. He did that yesterday, yeah.
Today.
Okay, today. So Roseburg did that for us, but we still have to pay the fee when it goes to the state. Firefighters, we're going to be participating in a job share program with the DHS and Umpqua Community College. Well, they have some firefighters up there, people that are wanting to go in the firefighter program that may be getting some college benefits and stuff, and they want to trade them work. So we can trade training time, calls, and use them for maintenance, little jobs. If somebody is a really good typist, we can use them for admin work, we can use them for cleaning stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Windows need to be washed.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a private. There's a lot of it's a private thing between the college. The people that are involved sign a contract, and myself and Chief Williams and Tom Johnson will be the supervisors. They have to be supervised while we're here. They're covered by workman's comp themselves. There's no liability to us. And I've checked a couple liability issues this week with our insurance, and I'll talk about that in a second. They're asking us if they can send us more later, and I'm just going to wait here for a while and see how it works before we do that. Because it'll impact us as supervisors, because we have to be here supervising. So. But it should be a good deal.
Did I miss how many are going to participate?
We just have a couple right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to hold it down and see how it goes for a while. we're offering to do, if UCC has people that are fire science students or EMTs and stuff, we're offering to let them come out here and train if they want to, because we have certified instructors here. Explorer Junior Firefighter Program, I just saw Lindsay walk in, was that her?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I got a couple firefighters that have asked to create a junior firefighter explorer program for our department. There's two different ways we can do it. We can go through the Boy Scouts of America, or there's a national junior firefighter program. I was involved in Boy Scouts for a long time. It'd be an explorer or adventure program. It'd be co-ed for ages 14 to 18. It's actually 14 to 22, but if they turn 18, then we're going to put them in our gear and recruit them as firefighters. So I'm not going to have them being explorers. There's a lot of benefits to it, and there is some cost to it too, so I want to talk about that. The Boy Scouts of America is going to be coming out next Thursday night at our regular drill night, just to give us an overview of what they do. The costs and the liability to the district are pretty minimal. As far as our insurance, riding on vehicles, property insurance, vehicle insurance, that kind of stuff, there are none. Our policy through SDAO and that, they cover these programs all over the state. The cost is going to be workman's comp. Workman's comp would charge them, would count them as volunteers. So it'd end up being about $150 per kid per year. So I'm hoping, whatever the board thinks about this, but I'm planning on, we already have 3 or 4 people interested, and I'm looking to budget maybe next year for about 6 of them, it would be $900. And so, let's see what's going on here. Let's see. There might be some minimal costs on some equipment. I'm kind of putting a hold upstairs. We had some surplus boots and turnouts and all that stuff. We're going to get them laundered and clean them up. And these children, or these kids, not children, wouldn't be able to do live fire or anything like that till they're 18. But we could use that surplus stuff we have upstairs, if it's clean, for them to practice in and train in and that kind of stuff without destroying good equipment. So, anyway, I've got a letter in here that kind of talks about the benefits, but one of the big benefits is in the last 10 years, about 100,000 volunteer firefighters have retired or gotten too old across the country, and our calls keep going up. So this has proved across the country to be a way to replenish our ranks and get more firefighters. There's departmental training. What happens is we have certified instructors who will train, but it kind of motivates the old timers too to come in and share their knowledge and that kind of stuff and work with these youngsters. We improve public relations. First of all, the families are involved because they have to sign off on their kids being here. There's liability release and everything else. So we have another way to reach out to the community through families and stuff. And one of the last things they talk about is bridging the generation gap. We got all these, the new kids now, all the new technology and stuff. It's kind of actually a way, it may even bring in stuff to help us modernize as far as technology and all that kind of stuff. So, both these programs are a turnkey program. The National Firefighter one, this is the manual for it. It has the liability releases, the impacts on insurance costs and everything else. We choose to go that way. And the Boy Scout program is turnkey too. There's a couple of them here in the county. Clyde's right now. North Douglas is running well. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. And at most, I'm thinking with workman's comp and maybe a few extra structural helmets, we have just about everything else we need. We'd be talking less than maybe $2,000 next year. So I want to know what you guys think about that.
I think you're just planning ahead, and there's really nothing wrong with that. My question is, when they're training, are you gonna be training with live fire, I presume, and do their parents have to sign a waiver?
They can't, until they're 18, they can't go into live fire.
So training around here is they can watch?
Right, or they'd be exterior only.
Okay.
We do some host training stuff.
And their parents have got to sign up on it, obviously.
Right. There's liability releases, and the national one has their own insurance policies and everything else.
Do we already have potential people who have expressed interest in
We
this?
have 4, we might talk about this last month. They're teaching, UCC is teaching fire science at Douglas High School. And they have 15 kids in it right now. They teach them on the trimester system, they're earning college credits. So we're trying to tie it into that to see if any of those kids are from our area also. If they are, we're gonna suck them right in there as fast as we can. So,
Take him to dinner.
can I say that? Anyway, and hopefully they'd be involved in this. So, we're real preliminary right now. Well, we got the Boy Scouts coming out next week, and we're reviewing all this stuff right now, but liability-wise and everything, our insurance company assures us it's not gonna, there's no liability to it. And, anyway. I think
Sounds like a win-win.
I think it'll be a good thing. I'll get you more on next year. What we're talking about doing is we're starting another Firefighter One Academy coming up, probably the end of April, early May. If we get this going, we're gonna pull them right into the Firefighter One Academy, so we can do all kinds of stuff like ladders, history, fire service, all that kind of stuff with them, and get them going. And by the time they turn 18, they'd be done. Okay, equipment, there's 3 sets of specifications and drawings in for the new 1080. One of the vendors is coming next week, Rosenbauer, he's gonna come down here and we're gonna have a little sales pitch here. But FEMA is now funded. You guys might have saw in the paper that they were holding each other hostage there in Washington DC over the Homeland Security, and that was, these grants all come out of there, so it's funded now, and so we expect to see some yays or nays here in the next couple of weeks on the grants. My maintenance man came back from his winter vacation, so we're gonna be moving forward on some of the approved budget stuff for maintenance on the vehicles. We're gonna get a tune-up on 1080, and there were some tires we were gonna replace on the engine 1030 and 60. Those are all less than $1,000 a piece, probably. We switched all 2-cycle fuel to our premix cans. We've been having a lot of problems with gumming up tools and stuff on the vehicles and stuff, so I don't know if you guys have seen, there's 32-ounce premix cans that are already stabilized. They last for 3 years. They're pre-mixed. We don't have to carry any gas cans or anything on our vehicles, so we went to that. We picked that up through the vehicle in the budget. We saved a lot of money on our PM this year, so. A couple other things we added to inventories this month. We had a good flagger class. We're responsible for flagging on motor vehicle accidents. I don't know if you guys know that. We have a couple of flaggers on our department, so one of them gave us a good class last month, and we recommended that we got some walkie-talkies that aren't on the county frequencies, and that was a pretty good idea. And we also picked up a couple gas cans, and new turnouts for one of our firefighters came up.
Steve, you're talking about a turnout, not turnout.
One set.
Yeah, okay, one
We had
set.
turnouts, one pair.
My other question is, I still have to get together with you so we can update the roster.
Okay.
Okay.
Surplus equipment. Last month I talked about maybe donating our old SCBA's. I got the vendor, Dalmatian Fire Equipment, sent me a letter back yesterday, and he places the value of those 2 SCBA's up there at $50 per unit. They're not certified to be used in the United States. So we could sell them for $50 a unit. I was going to ask them to donate them to the firefighters across the border because they are using them in Mexico. They're using the same exact SCBA's. So I want to know what the board has to say about that.
How many are there?
There's 2.
Just 2, okay.
I'll entertain a motion to donate them.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case, yes, Steve? Thank you.
I'll probably have it. Facility, we've been talking about bugs for a while. That one dropped by me this month, but we got a guy all about bugs, is a local guy that does a Grange and stuff. It's supposed to be real reasonable, so I'm gonna get him up in a couple more days here. Painting, we already talked about that. It was set for May 4th. ADA and safety, one of the board of directors here, and well, actually 2 of them have been talking to me about, there's some deficiencies around here. We haven't kept up on refilling our eye wash station. I got one extinguisher I went out there the other day that was never tagged correctly by Umpqua, the extinguisher company. And also we were trying to make some headway on this ADA Act. The headway we had to make was moving towards a plan. We made the plan already, what we're gonna do. As soon as I get the credit card, I'd love to buy all the handles and stuff. I'm kind of getting tired of My wife's actually getting tired of paying money.
Can I ask you, do we have, or should we get an account with Lowe's, Home Depot, or Garrett's?
We could, we don't have one now. We could. I started to get an account. We have some at different hardware stores around here. I need to do the treasurer because they end up doing a credit report and a financial report on it. So it's not, some places it's easy, some places it's not. Okay. So,
I think the credit card, the only issue I have with the credit card is if it doesn't fall in their billing, you're just paying interest. Or if we get in his card, and the sooner we get his card, then we can delete any kind of interest and everything's just pay as you go.
yeah, the thing, that's not really on this, but the thing, the debit card we had before and stuff gave me the option of going for an inexpensive price. If I'm tied into a certain vendor or something, sometimes that's not the way to go. So I'm not talking about large purchase items, but just paper or ink toner or anything else. You can get some deals when something's on sale, you go on it right then. So I agree that
Well,
that's the way to go.
I know we lost Office Depot, but we
Yeah.
still have Staples.
We did have Staples. We don't have an account there, but we have a card where they give us. In fact, I bought the toners and stuff this month using their discount card, so. Budget committee, the notice on the sign, we have 5 candidates. I never got any calls. I got, we talked about that already. This is a list of the candidates that I know of. Mike Brown, he listed minutes last month, is one of my ex-firefighters. He's willing to do it as if nobody else can, so I got him down as number 6. So if we, are you gonna do that on the, later on the agenda? I didn't see.
That's what I'm on.
It's there.
I went and talked to Bruce Epperson again,
Yeah,
and he was still undecided, but leaning towards no.
okay. I talked to him the other day too, and he said pretty
Yeah.
much no. I went down to the accountant with Bill. I think you guys are gonna be talking about that. I think we were supposed to talk about a budget calendar starting tonight, so I got a sample budget calendar that you guys can look at. It's just a draft. It can be moved back a week or 2 either way. So if we start tonight, for example, appointing the budget officer and picking the budget committee members, we'd be right on time. If not, we can keep moving back a week or 2. Is that on the agenda, the budget stuff? Okay. So you guys can look at that later. Miscellaneous, just a bunch of stuff at the end. Workman's comp, Liberty Mutual, they sent us a request. The audit I had done didn't go in with the bill, so we got that, that's all done. We're good until July. SDAO, or SDIS asked for an application for a bid, and I submitted all the information they want, so they're gonna, they're our agent of record already, but they're doing Liberty Mutual, so they're gonna give us a bid and we can compare the price.
And you're saying the same agent as we have now, is that Donna Holmes, or
Yeah.
is that, okay? Because Dave Finnecook is,
He's still on workman's comp, I believe, and so Donna is acting as our agent.
okay.
Anyway, their bid should be coming back soon. They do it a little different than Liberty Mutual. I don't know if it's gonna be cheaper or not. I don't think it is, but we'll see.
Doesn't workman's comp so much for 1,000 or something like that?
Yeah, it
Doesn't
depends on
vary.
it.
It doesn't really vary. One insurance company is compared to the other.
Well, it depends on how they do it. Liberty Mutual doesn't charge us for the board members at all. They just said forget it. We charge, we make our payroll of $800. They charge in the state of Oregon $800 per firefighter per month. That's the payroll. So it ends up that we have a payroll of about $160,000 a year here, even though we're volunteers. SDAO, also, Liberty Mutual doesn't charge us for the board members. Most board members, they figure, is $40 a meeting times 12 months, plus you can add a few budget meetings, that kind of stuff. So that adds $20,000 or $30,000 to the payroll also. Liberty Mutual doesn't do that, SDAO does. So that's the differences right off the top. I don't know how it's going to work out. It seemed like the per dollar figures are all pretty much the same. I understand that firefighter per dollar figures are going up next year like 17% because of a lot of rash injuries across the country or something.
talk about it now, it's on your report.
Is it on the agenda anymore?
No.
I got another one, I just wanna say, I got one back in December, I believe, from Yvonne, and I didn't handle it right. In our policies, they're supposed to go through the board chair, and then the board is supposed to approve everything that's disseminated and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna do that anymore. So the ones I've gotten recently, I've given to the board president, and I haven't gotten back. So if anybody's waiting to reply, I haven't gotten back yet to reply to them.
I believe that the information I read on the Freedom of Information Act, it's gotta be a specific what they're looking for. It's not just a blanketed email, am I correct?
Yeah.
Because it seems to be prevalent right now, and I guess since you brought it up, we might as well address it. I'm not sure.
The way I understand it is generally what the subject topic is.
What I did is I went to the Attorney General's Public Records and Meetings Manual, 400 pages. There's 90 pages here of stuff. And basically, this isn't the law, this is how Attorney General Rosenblum enforces the law. And she says a lot of stuff. I'm no lawyer though, so I don't know. I kind of think that of all the different ones we've gotten, we should bundle them all up and send them to our lawyer and say, hey, look at these, should we respond to them or not? There's all kinds of stuff, especially, you know, like Hillary Clinton right now is a deal, and the Kitzhaber is the same thing. They're using their private email in the Capitol and all that stuff. Well, the same thing's happening here. We're doing stuff on private email, private phones, the station phone, the station computer and everything else, and I don't know. I'd love to give everything everybody wants, but I don't know what we can even give. I mean, some of the stuff, if I give a private email that has somebody else's address or phone number on it, that's illegal. I can't do it. So I think we need to have someone tell us what we should be doing with it. I mean, this has kind of gotten messed up since the start, because I didn't do it correctly the first time that I got it, I can tell you that.
You had a question?
Oh, no, I just was listening to, I'm not really, I watch C-SPAN a lot, and they were going over that, and they were talking about public information, and according to what I got out of it, you have to specify exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
You can't walk in and say, I'm gonna search the entire house for this. For everything, you have to specify exactly what you're looking for.
So if the board's gotta make a decision on this, the ones we've gotten, basically, we do not really have to respond to because there's no specifics. But if anybody on the board or anybody in the audience thinks that, you know, we're misrepresenting what we're supposed to, I just wanna let you know that I printed a bunch of emails out all the way to February 15th. You're more than welcome to take them, but make copies for the other people because ink gets very expensive and so does my time. But I have nothing to hide, and that's why they're here, and I'll print the rest of them out as soon as I get more ink.
Address that?
Yes, sir.
From what I've read about in Oregon, districts, special districts, or whatever, governments responding to requests for information, if you have, for some reason, an exemption or some other reason why you are not going to provide the information, you do need to reply to the person who requested it and say why you're denying the request for the information.
Okay.
So you do need
I can
to
do that.
reply.
Obviously, I'll get the approval of
I
the
don't know
board,
if
I'll write
Lloyd
a letter
wants
and send it
to
to the board.
clarify that or not.
Well, that's true, it has to be, the board has to do it too, and you have to reply in one of 5 ways. And it's all in this, the manual here, but either you got them, you're giving them to them, you got them, but you're not sure you can give them to them, or another way is legal counsel. Legal counsel gets you out of all the time limits. And actually, there is no time limits, it's just reasonable, so. The request we had made with our department has a 20-day or something time limit on it. That's not the law, so it's
Okay.
not gonna let you.
Right here.
There's just a couple things. There's federal freedom of information and there's the state of Oregon freedom of information. But typically, the freedom of information is levied against a public body. The request for information should be levied against the public body asking for information, not the individual, as I understand it. And as special districts, we're not a public body. We're a private enterprise. So we're not even subject to the Public Information Act, just to make that clear. But with your comment, I think everybody would want to make sure we find out what the issue is and make sure that information gets to people who really want the information. I think inside your organization, your intent is to make sure you get information whomever might want it. But there's two acts, federal and state, and Steve is right in that you have to at least acknowledge receipt of, but you have an attorney, you may want to at least touch base with him and make sure that you've done the fiduciary responsibility of an organization. What's been really confusing to what I've seen is your form is requesting to individuals, and so it's really confusing. Is the information coming from Lookingglass? Is it coming from Steve? Is it coming from you? There's just a lot of things that make it a little unclear to make sure that you get the individual exactly what they're looking for, so you can meet that obligation. So I may want to get some help with that.
Okay.
And I'm not an attorney.
Understood.
I just know that I've gotten advice what to do with when I should get one, what I should do with it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to vote on these people?
We will, we got them down here. It's on the agenda.
You're gonna wait until you get there? Thank you.
Is that all you're gonna talk about that, or are you guys gonna talk more?
No, I would like to know, I mean, I think if I'm obviously acting president right now, if I get a Freedom of Information Act, how much do we want to spend to get the person that wants the Freedom of Information Act? Because before I respond, I'll just tell them that it's pending an attorney, the advice of an attorney, but it's gonna cost the district something. So that's why I think if people are specific on what they want, like these here, I have nothing to hide, and it's that easy. Go ahead, Nick.
I think that's exactly right. All it's gonna do is cost us being taxpayers, all of us sitting in this room, money. I think they're all irrelevant. I don't know. Maybe you can help me out, Roy. I don't know if or when it says the Lookingglass Fire Department on some of the occasions that was put towards. I think they're all irrelevant. They all should be thrown away, and if anything needs to be talked about in front of the board.
I have a question. What is it pertaining to that you guys are getting Freedom of Information Act requests for?
It's not pertaining to anything, it's emails that they want for communication amongst people on the board, and or Roy, and or Susan.
So I thought that was all public record anyway.
It is, we don't.
Okay, so why would you have to subpoena someone with the Freedom of Information?
Well, there's no
Act?
subpoena.
Well, whatever,
But
why
they
would
would
you
have to
have to
attend.
do that? What is the means to the end?
That's what I'm trying to find out. How much do we want to spend on this avenue? And, I mean, if you ask me a question, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have no reason to lie. So that's what I prefer. It's the life that I live.
I guess what it, sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess what it comes down to is, I mean, it's a board, if it's being asked by board or board members, it has to be taken care of in front of the board. Anything else is personal,
Okay.
right? I mean, I'm a little confused myself about the whole situation.
It's very vague, and that's why I'm asking the board, do you want to keep
Because if I have to go
pursuing
get an attorney,
this? Yeah, do we keep pursuing this?
Pursuing what?
Pursuing the Freedom of Information Act with people asking for all this information that we don't know, or do we want to pay a lawyer? Because obviously we're not lawyers, but I have no I do have a problem paying a lawyer with money from Lookingglass Rural Fire Department. But it's like I said, I have nothing to hide, and I brought my email just in case anybody asks a question. But I'm just trying to find out. I mean, I got one from Risa. What is it you're looking for?
Well, I guess my confusion became, I became aware of something I will consider odd when I have emails from Steve, for instance, when he said in one email, I have them here, that he had sent Yvonne, a lot of emails. And when I asked for information, he sent me an email that says, I don't keep that stuff.
I don't.
Well,
On my personal computer, my server, I only got like 100 megabytes, I'm up to 89 or 90.
okay, but you might see my
But-
confusion when
Well,
I.
my problem is I did it wrong, I should have brought it all back to you, and then you could have seen it.
Okay, but it sounds to me, when I get these types of emails, that you I get an email that says you didn't keep it, so.
Well,
I guess I'd
understand
have to
that,
go
but
to
what
your
I did
bond.
say is she's a private citizen, you're on the board, if you want
I'm
something.
also a community member.
And you guys excuse me, I'm from the board, but you guys did all the communications with Susan and all these people. And George, once this was, George sent, did you know what George sent to her? The package he sent to her?
No, I
It
sent my
has all,
stuff.
it says that, his thing says that you guys never communicated with him. Here's the package he sent, because I asked Yvonne Russell once it was public, I said, can I have it? Because I never got it. And that should have came through the board also, so that everybody on the board could have seen it before we get distributed. But it shows the dates that she sent stuff and the times that George responded to her. So it seems like the request is kind of, it's like null and void or something, because this proves that there was communication the whole time.
Are you saying that I was having communication with Susan Shepherd all during
This is what you sent to Yvonne Russell, these are all the emails, and you said you didn't have communication with them, and they say right here that you did. There's replies to them, so, I don't know, I don't wanna go there, I mean.
Correct, I agree with you.
But it's just that, it is really confusing. And on the board here, we should just be able to ask each other.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne, do you have a question?
I just wanted to make a remark that the public information request that I submitted, I only gave Steve a copy of it, so he would know what I submitted. It wasn't because I wanted anything from you. So, you know.
Robert.
For the board.
So, I'm gonna throw this out there again, as a board, how far do we wanna pursue this?
I'd like,
Pursue the,
I'd like to-
do I go to an attorney?
yeah, I
Does the
think.
board think I should spend the money on an attorney with any Freedom of Information Act I get, if it's specific? But I can't see going to see an attorney if somebody asks for emails from whatever and whatever. There's gotta be something tangible that they're looking for, other than just a communication.
I'd like to entertain a motion to do this, because just by kind of listening to everybody, including myself, I think we're all a little bit confused on what this is all pertaining. So I think it'd be very good to so it has to go there, to spend a little bit of money to clarify to us. And maybe Roy could help us. And then an attorney could sit down and say,
Okay.
no, this is what it actually does, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into
Okay,
it.
no, I understand. So what I,
Robert, I have a
yes,
question.
okay, hold on, George, I'll be right with you. Go ahead.
Now, I thought that more than 3 board members really can't communicate. You can't have a quorum outside of a public meeting.
Correct.
So really, all this emailing that the public's hearing about, for the first time for me, I'm wondering how much communication is going on outside of a board meeting. It's kind of scary if I'm hearing how many people are being CC'd on these emails.
It probably sounds more than it is, to be honest with you, because I'm not gonna say that we all talk at the same time about any given thing. The agenda comes out, and then if we need to go to the bank, or I call Bill, because I know he's a new treasurer, so I said, hey, you wanna go down to the fire department, pay the bills, but I don't think, it sounds worse than it is.
No decision-making,
No,
no discussion of
never,
any
no.
decision-making, no opinion being solicited.
The most we talked, I think, is us 3, when we had to communicate to have signatures at the bank. Correct, and I think we brought that up at the meeting, so that was the most that we thought.
Rob, what I get on my emails is from usually George or Lisa, and it's usually either the minutes or information they get from a fire section or some information from different insurance companies or whatever. And I just get an email and it says, Bill so-and-so, and I think Lisa sends them to all the board members. And I write back, okay, or I got it, and I leave it in I have a little thing on my personal email that says fire department.
Yeah.
And everything's
I don't think you guys can get out of not using your personal email. It's just, unless you got your own, server and all that.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, for what I'm gonna make a suggestion is whenever I get a Freedom of Information Act, I'm gonna hold it till the next board meeting. And I guess if it's got enough relevance, we can make the decision then whether we need to see the lawyer. I think it should be a decision of the board, and it should have something tangible that specifically what somebody is asking for other than an email.
Use the phone.
I agree with you, but unfortunately, sometimes we have to have paperwork of communication.
Yeah, that's a sensible way.
If the request isn't specific, then you don't know what to give.
And that's what I'm saying, I mean, and that's why I'm bringing it up now. Yeah, because, I mean, I burnt through a thing of ink and I just went, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, like I said, I have nothing to hide. If you have a question, ask and I'll
So
take.
are you only getting Freedom of Information Acts to disclose to to the board members? Are they only coming from the board members because of the discord between you guys? Is that
No,
true?
I had one other one, or actually two other ones.
Two from the
One was-
public, one from a board.
Oh.
Two from the public and one from
Two
a
from
board.
a board,
Oh.
two from a board, two from the
And
public.
once again, are we searching for something that has already been discussed and laid to rest by the board?
If they want to bring it up, I have no problem answering their questions, so I don't think we're searching, we're grasping for straws. I mean, it's, like I said, anybody that wants to take this home can, bless you, have fun, because there's nothing there that I'm hiding. Okay, are we done with that? Okay. Yes, George, go ahead.
Roy, can I address a question to you?
Certainly.
How long are you going to continue working with this board?
Well, actually, I was gonna make that report, but this is my last meeting.
And what do we owe you as a board or for the district?
You haven't paid us a dime.
I realize that.
Right.
Question I'm asking is, how much are you billing us for that?
I'm not. I work for special districts.
So George Dunkel would be the one to answer that?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Correct.
I'll make a note to get hold of him.
Okay.
But
Correct.
due to the fact is, you are leaving, we still have opportunity to talk to you if we have questions that has to.
Oh,
pertain to the board
absolutely,
and Mr.
absolutely.
Dunkel.
And when given the opportunity, I'll explain what's going on in my
Okay,
life, so.
I'll get there in the new business. Okay, so Steve, we're done, right?
That's what I
Oh, your upcoming burn.
Okay, so I'm almost done. Let me see if I can find it. You better give me mine, yours back.
Upcoming burn.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of little stuff going on in Orr Lane, the Jacoby residence, he passed away, a longtime resident of this area. They've asked us to assist him in burning it. We're looking at that right now. Huh? Okay. On Orr Lane and Jacoby, there's two residents out there, they're old ones. One of them's fallen down, one of them's about to fall down. They've asked us to help them burn it, and they were gonna donate it as a training. They're actually probably not even safe enough to burn as training, but we're gonna assist them in burning them anyway. And maybe do some exterior type training, forceful entry, ventilation. We're looking at this new thing, as far as our vehicle drivers, and NFPA 1500 says whatever weight or type of vehicle you have, if it's a Class A or a Class B vehicle, your drivers have to have that license. We're lucky we have a lot of commercial licenses here, but we're seeing how that's gonna impact us. It might impact us. May 30th, our association's doing a charity with the American Hunting Club down at Seven Feathers Casino. And that money that we get from that, we're gonna be applying to our Christmas gift fund. They're using us as runners for the auction. Wings and Wheels on July has asked, they're gonna provide a big area for a fire department this year, so they, Mr. Durbridge, you know him? No? Okay, he's asked me to set them up with all the fire departments in the area, so we'll see how that goes.
Do you know when that is?
I think it's July 8th.
July 18th.
18th, okay. The May 2nd parade is coming back up this week. I believe they're gonna have some kind of meeting. Dixie Williams has already planned to cut the parade permits. We're gonna be doing ice cream again. We've been asked to run the barbecue this year. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. I gotta ask my association. Yeah.
Could you spell the man's name with wings and wheels?
Burbridge, B-U-R, B-R-I-D-G-E. I don't remember his first name. I got it written down. Oh, wait, here. D.M. Burbridge.
D.M.?
Yeah, he's the one that's organized it this year, so we're gonna try to set him up at the FDA and those two, and everybody down there around Roseburg.
Okay.
Finally, this Saturday night at the Grange, they haven't advertised very well, but there's gonna be a bingo and potato night for $5 from 6 to 8, 25 cents a bingo card, and some of us are gonna be down there. Huh? Baked potatoes, like with all the fixings for $5.
Can you give us that date and place again, please?
It's this Saturday, the 14th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Grange. Last time I went, we had a lot of fun, me and my daughter did playing bingo, so we'll see how it goes. And that's it, sorry.
Thank you. Old business, Wheeler bookkeeping.
I'd like to announce on that.
Go ahead.
Steve and I went down and talked to Mr. Wheeler, and he went through what he would do for us, and I'll try to explain it to you. He'll go through all our books and bring everything up to date on the computer for approximately $150 or less. If we go through the way he would like to do it on our books, he would go in and take care of all our books for us, take care of the checks, everything for us. We'll send each one of the board members a packet, and the packet will include, like for example, let's say Steve budgeted $4,000 for fuel, and at this time he had spent $1,000. It'll show that we spent 25% of our budget for our fuel, and he'll break down every one of our things down and show us exactly what we budgeted or what Steve budgeted and how much we spent and how much left percentage-wise of the budget is left for the rest of the year. And he'll do that for approximately the same amount of money as he's charging us now. He'll take care of all our checks for us, and all we have to do is sign checks, and he'll even copy our invoices. He did one of them. He copied the invoices and put the check that was written for that invoice, copied it onto the invoice, and we have a copy of the check and the invoice together. And if it was up to me, I would say that's a good deal.
I got a question, Bill. Who's gonna be holding the invoices and checks?
Well, I'll take the invoices down to him, and probably the checks, and he'll write down the invoices and do all the work. And then when they're done, right now he says he'd like them for about 5 days because of his time schedule with the tax things. And then when we get them back, all we have to do is sign checks, and we'll have copies of the invoices and everything set up.
Who's gonna handle, or what's going to happen to the invoice when it's paid? Who's gonna hold them? Or are you gonna bring them back to?
We will get a copy of all the invoices, and then he'll probably send a copy of the invoice like we do with the checks to, or we will, when we sign them, we'll send them back to the companies we get the invoices from.
I mean, why is it so difficult to not be able to write our own checks here? We've been doing it for the last 2 years, haven't had no problem whatsoever. If you are familiar with it, it doesn't take more than half hour, 45 minutes to do it.
Well, I'm just saying for him to do it the way he wants to do it, he'll have everything will be printed out, and everything will be copied, and everything will be done, and we won't have to worry about it, and it'll be done and kept up to snuff. For example, like when I got it, I ended up with an extra check that I didn't know anything about. So this way, all the checks will be there, the invoices will be all done, they're in a file box right now, ready to be signed.
So now,
I still have another question I want to ask you, Bill. Are you suggesting that we're going to have him generate a check for us?
He can either generate it off of
The computer.
QuickBooks, or he can write a check, make out our checks for us.
Good.
Well, I would rather we did our own checks, only because of the fact that sometimes you're saying that he needs that 5 days, and a lot of times. Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Sometimes things come in like the day of our meeting, and we have to be able to just write our own check and,
Well, we will have it here on the day of our meeting with the packets for each one of the board members and all the bills and everything ready to roll. All we have to do is sign the checks and put them in the envelopes and pay.
Right, but I mean, we'll still be using our checks.
Right.
Okay, that's fine, because,
Okay.
for instance, tomorrow, when we go in and do all this money stuff, I'll have to do a deposit.
Right.
and
That'll be,
the checkbook is here.
the checkbook is
Okay,
here.
because I need to take that
Right.
to both banks
Right.
with the deposits and
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Everything is here.
Right, and that information will be in the register, and a copy will be in the file.
Right.
But, and then you can give that information to him.
Right, what I'll do is when I get the bills, and ready to go, like I did this time, take everything over there, and he'll go through and put everything in, and, have everything
Right.
ready to roll. And then, like I said, if it was up to me, it would be worth $150 for him to bring everything up on QuickBooks up to date.
Yeah.
Should we maybe wait till after taxes, so it doesn't take him 5 days and he can just get it, maybe address it?
Well, this time he
next month?
did it in about 3 days for me.
Okay.
He didn't have everything done, but I called him and asked him about it. My mistake, and I apologize for it, because I didn't expect him to write the checks. I expected him just to go through and balance everything out. And he already had all the checks done, and I went in and get them, because I was gonna write the checks. They were already done, and invoices were already printed out and copied and everything. But, matter of fact, he informed me that if we don't, which is my mistake again, stop screwing around, and if I kept taking them in and taking them back from him, he was gonna quit. And I begged him not to, and I said, I'm new at this, give me a break to catch up. All right. And he said, okay, don't worry about it, and he's gonna continue doing it for us if we go along with it.
I have a question.
Yes,
How much liability does that release us from?
Correct.
well, we don't have anything, we won't have to write checks or do anything like that. I don't know about if it releases us from any liability,
Well,
but.
I mean, it's a burden off the people that are.
Right,
signing checks.
right, and it takes care of stuff like that.
And then if they don't get paid, you get somebody that's gonna yell.
Right, yeah, he's bonded and everything.
Well, so yes, that's a good thing.
He's covered, you know. And he's been in business for quite a few years. I've known the dealers for quite a while.
It answers a lot of the suggestions we've gotten through our
Yeah.
training and stuff about
Yeah.
getting everybody separate. It keeps me out of it, keeps the person that's buying, it keeps the person handling money and the person doing the records. They're all out of it.
All good.
Right.
Roy, do you have a question or statement?
Well, I'm just going to remind the board, which I'm sure you remember, that when Steve Tashur and I made our recommendation to the board, we strongly recommended that you do exactly what we're speaking to. Let that piece done by a professional bookkeeper. You can still have the oversight you need. You still get to sign your checks, approve your bills, but now you've got a professional company taking care of that, and it kind of gets that off your plate. And you can go on about doing board business and being the oversight group that you need to be, but you've let a bookkeeping company, they do it for Winston Dillard. It's very, very common in our business to have that done through a professional. If you can't afford as an organization to have your own internal bookkeeper, you have it done off-site. That's very common, and they're bonded. I think you're gonna find over time that that's probably one of your wisest decisions you've made as a board, is to place this in someone's professional hands.
Correct. Okay. Here.
What I like about it is, it tells you how much you have left, budgeted for.
I like that too.
That is very important.
Okay. I'm gonna entertain a motion to take in Bill's suggestion to have Wheeler write the checks. You're gonna take them to him
I'll
and
take
you're
them
gonna
to
bring them
him
back?
and I'll bring them back when they're done.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to see, we're gonna make two motions, one for the $150 and then one for him to write the checks.
I'll second it.
Well,
Hold on one second.
I don't know if it requires a motion necessarily, as if we can discuss that, only because of the fact, like I said, some things come in past that time frame, and I don't wanna exclude things in case somebody brings something and then they say, oh, wait, I need to get paid and reimbursed or something now, and we would have to tell them, wait another month.
So let me ask you this, I guess we should find out from Wheeler before we go ahead and approve this, if we can still write checks, and then we can still tell him, because if we have the checkbook here, to a good point that she brings up, you get a check the day before the meeting, and we already have the checks filled up.
Yeah.
Simple solution, you just tell the people that are billing you, you have to have that bill by a certain date in order to get paid, otherwise you're gonna wait 30 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But according to what I understand with Wheeler, if something comes up, I can always go down and say, here's a new invoice, can you write a check with it?
This is what I'm,
Or if
Hold on a second, please.
Because we should have it at least a week or two before, the way things are set up. From what, we've never done it before, but the way things set up, everything will be done, you know, well before the meeting and stuff like that, so we'll have everything here with a checkbook and everything ready to write checks.
well, my only question then would be to Wheeler is, it's not gonna mess things up that much if once in a while we have something that comes in at an odd time.
Oh, I don't think so. I I can't see it messing him up too much, you know?
Well, I wouldn't think it would, but
Right.
I'm just saying, you know, I don't wanna exclude some
We can give
people.
it a 6-month trial.
They're professionals, they'll figure it out.
If we give it a, why don't you go ahead?
The only thing I would suggest, it would take but a phone call. I'd be very surprised if you couldn't let him know that something came in after something comes in. Maybe it's a late bill that's close to its 30 days past due, but if something comes in, most people understand that public entities work on a 30-day process to get things through their system. But I suspect you could at least ask him the question. If not, have a couple checks that you could write
Correct.
your
Well,
own check.
we'll have the checks here, so that's not an issue, as long as we have documentation and he can enter in his system what account it goes from.
Right, because my main concern is going to be the credit card. We're not gonna know yet when that statement would be coming in.
But you usually have close to
So-
30 days on my credit card.
Well,
You
but
usually have close to 30 days to
Right,
pay.
but we got caught before with something that came right after our meeting and didn't get voted on and paid.
But we're still gonna have the checkbook here,
Yeah.
so we can still write
Right,
that
so
check.
I'm
So,
just,
yeah, I
just
think.
gonna make sure that we don't get caught.
How many checks you write about money?
Oh, yes.
About 10, 12.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, one more question, go ahead, please.
Robert, I just want to let you guys know that when I did the books and administrative work here, that if you have all of your invoices for the entire month and you collect them at the last day of the month, you have the checks written the first week. 5 days is plenty of time to do that, and you bring them to your board meeting the second week of the month. There has never been anything that was paid that was past due or missed unless it didn't arrive in the mail. There is nothing that is that urgent that different people need to be writing checks, and I think it's a liability. I think it's very important for the district to have one person writing your checks and doing the books.
Okay, I agree. So I'll entertain that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Teresa?
I'm gonna abstain at this time.
Okay. So it passes.
What we have to say, who votes, not what you vote.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay.
So I'm the deciding factor and I'm gonna vote for it.
You got another,
You might ask on the card if you could choose your due date, because I know
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
several of them.
Got that, Bill? On the card, see if you can choose the payment date. Steve, would you see about Steve's card?
well,
Oh, okay.
Reese can check that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had one more comment about that, is I asked some other questions that hadn't been asked. One of them was, would they do the LB1s for us, the LB50s, and our year-end review? And he is not qualified to be an auditor. So, we're gonna have to deal with an auditor still, as a year-end review.
So we don't have Steve anymore?
No,
I'm not sure.
no,
That was funny because he said there's
So-
only two in Roseburg and we've had them both, so I'm not sure.
Robert, I got a question. I don't know if it's time to bring it up or not. We received a bill from Steve for $500, and I'd like to know what we're supposed to do with it. I'm new to this. I don't know. I've met Steve, I think.
Do you have that bill?
I think it's here.
Because, do you know anything about a contract with Steve? Said he would do our end of the year paperwork, I believe is what it was?
I don't remember. I left it here.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention, and I left it here.
When did he submit that bill?
Like I said, I don't remember.
I'll call him.
It came in the mail this last week, I guess.
I'll call him and then I'll contact you.
Steve, do you remember seeing that bill?
Hold on, Bill.
I
Hold
can
on.
get it for you if you want, it's in the file.
Prior to the, what was it, February meeting? I think I made a comment that Steve Teixeira is no longer gonna be our CPA. He didn't want it. He told me he was not billing us for anything,
Okay, I'll
because he
call
had
him.
not done anything.
Okay, George, I will call him. I will call him to find out
And
the
that-
specifics and bring it up.
That's what he told me.
Okay, I'll bring it up.
That's all I'm gonna tell
That's
you
okay.
is,
I'll call him and I'll bring it up to find out.
I'm a little bit astounded that he's submitting a bill after he told me that. he's
Hold
not.
on. I'll take care of this, okay? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the budget committee. We've got 5 people and the 6th if needed. I know a couple of them people, so, I mean, I guess Risa, you'd probably be able to help me out a little bit better with that. Are they all qualified to help with the budget?
Mary McBride is on her 3rd and final year,
Okay,
and all of the other people are new volunteers.
okay. And Karen was on the board, correct?
Yes.
Jerry was?
She started.
Okay, that's what, yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just reiterating.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, so I have to make a motion to approve them for the board?
Well,
Right.
there's 6 people, so.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying,
Bruce Epperson said he dropped out, I thought somebody said on.
Yeah.
he's not on
He's
here.
not
On the list I
he's
gave
not on
out,
the
I
list.
said
Yeah,
it's not.
we've got Mary McCray,
There's McBride.
right?
Mhm.
Ken Bronsart, Karen Matney, Jerry Harris, Larry or Tony Albertsons, and Mike Brown if needed.
Are those people
Are you
here?
gonna do that, are you gonna do that, Tony?
I think Larry's gonna do it. Larry's not here.
Then we'll make it, well, that's what I've got on here, to set a budget meeting. Can we get a hold of these people so they can show up at our next meeting so we can move forward on that one? Is that possible? Do you want to do that, or?
Yeah, I don't have, I know we had a lot of numbers last year, do we have?
I think we could work as a team and probably figure it
I
out.
got, I know most of them.
Okay, then we'll put it on next month's agenda that they're here. Is that fair? Gives them plenty of time, or are we gonna be, because you're looking at April?
Well, we can move back, so what would happen tonight is you just elect them, and then the meeting's not gonna be, the first budget meeting won't be till the end of April. probably.
Okay, so all these people have already said yes, they would do it. Okay.
Robert. Excuse
Go
me.
ahead.
I need clarification on Mary McBride, because I've spoken to her and she said yes.
Okay.
Ken said yes, Karen said yes, Jerry said yes, and then Larry, or
Tony?
which one is gonna do it?
Larry.
Okay, all right.
That's Larry. So that's your husband.
So those five.
Okay.
And Mike Brown will do it, if somebody else has to drop out, he can do it.
But as an alternate, would he show up at each meeting anyways? So he
Well, he
doesn't.
doesn't have to, no, it was just that through the election process, if somebody else jumped out, then he
Okay.
would do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Then it'd be the fact that they all volunteered, I'll entertain a motion to have them put on the board.
I second.
The budget committee.
Budget
Budget committee, I'm sorry.
committee.
The budget committee, reading that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
you might want to give thought to, because budget law requires that these members be staggered, because now that you've put them on your budget committee, they're supposed to be staggered, so they serve different years' terms. So you may give thought to these different individuals and whether they're returning. This is where the controversy came up. You have returning members and you're appointing new members. The new members now would start serving a 3-year term. You could have some people that are finishing out their term, yet I don't know your whole your whole board and how it's structured, but you do have, they serve terms
Correct,
and they're staggered, so.
So Mary's the only one that has done it?
Mhm.
So the rest of the other three?
She's on her last year.
Okay, so the other three are,
So,
Four
but
new.
you need to stagger the other 4 people somehow.
I guess I'm a little confused on staggering when they're volunteering.
Did the other 4 not want to be back on the committee?
Pardon?
Did the other 4 not want to be on the committee this year?
We only had, no, Pam Dutton and Mike Buckley and, let's see, Kathy Holly had finished their 3 years. They were all done, and then only Bruce and Mary were to come back. And like I said, Bruce is leaned to the no side.
But the other 3 that finished could certainly renew for another 3 years.
Well, we didn't need them to because we had other volunteers.
But they need to be given a choice.
But if I'm supposed to stagger them, would it be advised?
I've always been given the choice if I want to renew.
And Robert, it's very simple, just
I
do
understand.
2 for 2 years and the other 2 for 3.
Okay,
We can literally ask or draw lots.
okay, okay.
There you go.
That's what's been
Or
done
the-
in the past.
Yeah, so you want to do that now?
We can if you
Okay.
want, or just ask by a show of hands
Ask
who
them.
might want to be a 2-year, who might want to be a 3.
Ken?
That might help give you some
Okay.
guidance. There's the statute on it.
Susan, do you have something for me?
If, I'm sorry, the one that didn't want to come, Bruce,
Uh-huh.
if he didn't want to come back and he has a year term, then you would appoint somebody to finish his term.
Oh, okay,
That will
okay,
do the
perfect.
staggering already.
Hey, does Larry want to do just 1 year?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay.
Okay, so Larry,
Okay.
so we good?
Is that all right with the board?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
That's good.
This is not a big issue, really.
No.
Yes, we're done.
Give people
Yep.
opportunity to apply.
Okay.
Okay, so we're done with that. We've got new business. I would like to bring up, as far as Jerry posting on the website, I think he should be able to post the drafted minutes so people have a right to see that. I think we should, you know, I'm gonna.
Yeah, everyone got my response to Keith?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I think if we put a draft there, I think it's gonna release a lot of liability of people saying they're not being informed. So as long as it says draft across it, I'm gonna, I'll entertain a motion to, go ahead.
Jerry,
Yes.
if you do the video, how hard is it to preface it or say draft?
The video's not.
The video's fact.
I know, but we discussed it, and since we don't have our policy yet, I'm
No, you
just
just
saying,
lose them.
it's kind of like the minutes, because we got that clarification from Eileen Eakins, all right? And she's the attorney, so she has the final word. And
But she's the one who said that you can't give the public draft minutes, which is incorrect.
Well, I'm not gonna argue with her. You know, you and I and her went back and forth many times about that. And so I'm just saying, is it something that we should consider just because it's something that we should have, she told us to handle it like the minutes, basically. And they need to be approved from 1 month to the next. Now, Keith Williams had sent a request that you all got saying he'd rather have the video out immediately for people who couldn't attend. I told him I don't have a problem with it necessarily, but in a legality situation or a liability situation, I don't know. I mean, if there's any changes or corrections, because sometimes there are.
I don't think, I think I brought this up before. I think a video, I would rather us put it on our website instead of somebody cutting and chopping and putting different things on there. That's my personal opinion. I think it should be on there and then it's said and done.
I agree.
Because then it is what it is. It's white, it's white, it's black, it's black.
Yeah, I
And if you put the video on there, they can get what they want out of it, but there's the fact.
I'm just, like I said, I'm just not, just going by what the attorney had cautioned us with. I don't want a liability.
But I don't, there again,
Okay, so how are you going to handle if there is a correction in the minutes, but the video is different from the minutes? How do you square that?
it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be. Hold on a second. It's the way people interpret things when it's put on a piece of paper, but the video is the fact.
Well, they could misinterpret what's on the video as well.
Well, yeah, but you've got one that balances out the other one.
Okay, well, just for instance, just for instance, in the minutes, and one of the things we're tabling it for was because when I listened to the video, and I listened to it a couple times, I have in here, Hank had made the motion, or you had made the motion and Hank had seconded. And that's because there was a lot of talking going on, and so it was hard to discern. And so when I typed the minutes, I heard you and then him in the video. So, but then you're telling me it's,
That's correct, I did not make that motion.
right, but I'm saying, when you watch the video, because I watched it a couple times, because it was very hard to discern at that point. This is one of the things, when I wrote back to Keith Williams, I said, because sometimes there might be a correction, not an edit necessarily, but because of, like I said, noise, or somebody can cough at the wrong time, or whatever, and
Hence the gavel, use it.
Correct.
If it's a little noisy, write them down.
I appreciate it, I got it.
I'm just saying, I
Correct.
mean, I agree that the video is the video. I'm just saying, when we write the policy, Hank, maybe that's something to consider, that we should say, there might be an occasion where something, like I said, when I listened to it, I heard it the opposite, and that's why I wrote it that way.
Well, I mean, here's a prime example. I don't think I ever heard in the video anywhere where it said Roy Palmer was mistaken. So, I mean, that kind of clarifies everything.
Perception.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Perception.
That's what I'm saying, when you
So-
hear this stuff,
I think the video should just go on and no more questions. I mean, the video is the
If,
video.
here's the thing, if the video is posted and if somebody has a question, I guess we could end every meeting with say, you know, you listen to this video on your own. And if you have any questions, please attend a board meeting, because that's where they're gonna get the fact and the answer.
Is there something in here, Roy, that might be a disclaimer for the board to be held harmless if somebody takes offense, for instance?
Well, I'll give you my opinion here. The video is just at that. You're making available the video. It would be no more than Mrs. Brown sitting in the room.
I already said that.
Okay? What really binds you is the articulation of the actual minutes that you approve.
Correct.
Minutes are allowed to be modified when mistakes are made or misunderstandings are made. And then they become adopted minutes and they become the letter of the law, if you will. That's why we make them available to the community as a draft. You can next week, you can see the minutes of tonight's meeting. I think you're very forward in that you video it, make it available. It doesn't change anything.
Correct.
It is what it is, what it is. It's the video of your meeting. You're being transparent. You're letting the community know that you're videoing the meeting. And if you're unable to attend, at the first opportunity, our webmaster will have it up on our video. And soon thereafter, there'll be a draft of the minutes, and come see us next month.
The videos, the minutes will be sealing the deal.
The minutes, yes, sir. The minutes will be sealing the deal.
Okay. You have one more thing?
Well, there was another question.
Yeah, or hold on a second, here.
Well, I was just gonna say that it would help if the person taking the minutes was here at the meeting instead of just trying to read it off the video.
Correct, I understand, I understand.
Mrs. Smith has, her minutes kind of vary from what you guys approved tonight.
We didn't approve anything.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I understand.
That was
Go ahead,
all.
we're gonna try to move on.
I just want to clarify that the videos are not posted directly on our website, they're posted
On
on the
YouTube.
district's YouTube
Correct,
channel.
correct. But you get there from the
We have a
website.
link to
Correct,
them on our
correct,
website.
correct. Yeah,
Right.
so I'm gonna entertain a motion of putting them on when the meeting's completed.
Yes, I second.
If we choose not to, okay, then, sorry about that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, pass.
Robert, I'd just like to make a comment that out of respect for the community, that if the secretary can't be at the meeting, whether they leave upset or they have a family emergency, that they've asked someone else to take minutes before they leave the room.
Correct, I agree. Okay, that's one of the things I have written down on my new business. But I'm gonna try to keep it going here.
May I ask for some other things regarding the website?
Go ahead, there are benefits to the
Make sure
district.
that it's done in a timely manner, that the agenda could be sent to me prior to the meeting.
Correct.
So that the public knows what's going to be discussed, that the public notice of the meeting could be sent to me so that I can post it on the website. So we do have an official public
Okay.
notice, at least through the website, even if it doesn't get into the newspaper, that says, you know, the date, time, location, as well as items to be discussed.
Okay.
And that, I would like, you know, if I could just have approval from the board that some of these things, along with the calls and the approved minutes, that I could just have blanket approval as soon as those documents and video or whatever calls, as soon as I receive them each month, I'm able to go ahead and post them when I have the time to work on it, rather than having to try to keep asking Hank for the permission every month on things that are standard.
So you're looking,
That have to be done every month.
The agenda,
Yeah, things that you as board members would be sending to me. Why do I then have to every month go to Hank rather than just having the board say, when president sends me the agenda, I can go ahead and post, giving me that approval on a continuing basis, standing basis.
Didn't you do that before? I thought you had.
Well, a couple months ago, that changed.
Okay.
I was told
anything
that-
sent to me,
I
make
was
a-
told that the only thing I had approval to change on my own without the communication officer's approval was the date of the meeting, which is not the same as the public notice. And I was not given the blanket approval for the agenda, or the approved minutes, or the public notice of meetings, or the
I think what
calls
you're
for
asking,
meetings.
Jerry, will all be taken care of in the policy. And with
But-
your input on
But
that,
we're
and
waiting,
with
we've
the
been
board
waiting a
input,
month or
it'll
two,
be
and I'm
taken care of.
asking, you know, like
Yeah.
you just now approved for me to go ahead and put the video up. Can I have that same approval for things that President, Secretary?
Through me, if it comes through me, and then for the time being, and I can send it to you with the board's approval, we can vote on it. Anything that comes through me that you feel tangible to go there, obviously we've got to talk about it to a certain extent, but such as, you know, the calls and things like that, I have no problem sending it to you, and once it comes from me, then it's a green flag to put it up there, because obviously we know it's right.
Well, Steve already sends his report to you directly, does he not?
Well, you know, hands it to me or emails it to me, but there's also, you know, alerts, like Steve sent me stuff about alerts about recalls on some fire extinguishers and smoke alarms. And I had to wait a while, you know, before getting the approval to put that on.
I thought we agreed at one of the meetings that anything that's to the best interest of the, such as the recall.
No, it was specifically for the fire danger level.
Mhm.
You know, when I get the alert from DFDA, is it? When I get the alerts from them, I was given approval to go ahead and put that up immediately, because that's, you know, for the safety of the community.
Well, then I'll have it sent to me. So I'm gonna ask the board if you would like to send, go ahead.
What is it exactly that,
The agenda, the minutes,
well,
video.
Yeah.
the videos, yeah, we already made a
Well,
motion
the
for
video already
that. The
approved, but
video's
there would be the
done.
agenda, the public notice of the meeting, and as soon as whoever writes these things up, the agenda, public notice, whoever's doing that, the approved minutes, as soon as whoever is writing those sends those to me, I could have standing approval to go ahead and post it instead of having a delay waiting for approval each month.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the public should be aware that we're trying to conduct business here, and the comments that are being made should be made in the public comment.
Understand, thank you.
But we're getting bogged down, and we're not getting down to our
Understand.
business.
I understand, thank you. Okay, so the email's gonna go to Jerry, so we can just make sure this is done. Such as the agenda, the minutes will be a draft,
And then the approved ones.
and then the approved ones when they're approved.
And then
That will be
we'll
a
just put it
follow-up.
in the policy, that way we don't even have to talk about it anymore.
Okay, do that, so we can just make sure
We'll
we
just
can
put it
take
in the
care of it.
policy when we're.
Go ahead, Ken.
all
Go
This
ahead.
being a public meeting,
Mhm.
anything that you say, all up there, is public knowledge.
Mhm.
When it leaves there and it hits that camera, it's public knowledge.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be approved by anybody,
Okay.
because it's public knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Special district election deadline. That's coming up, Hank. Have you gone down and registered? This is for the special, for the fire
I
department.
think you have a motion on the floor, Mr.
Oh, I'm
President.
sorry. On having Jerry approved? We
Yeah,
took- we-
yeah. You made a motion in second, but I don't believe you actually taken a vote.
Okay, I'll take a vote.
I didn't hear it
Who
anymore.
in favor of having Jerry post the agenda, the minutes? the
May I
calls,
ask
the-
who did the motion and who did the second?
There was, I believe Bill did the motion.
I think I did.
Yes, and Hank did the second. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, approved.
So this is different than the other one that we voted on.
Correct.
Okay.
So you gotta make sure March 19th, which is right on the corner, you plan on running for the board. All you gotta do is go down there and pay your $10, it's pretty easy, and it takes a second. So if you guys can take care of that, so we don't have to worry about filling a board position, we appreciate it. The next thing is the board seat, we obviously, I am acting.
I'm gonna nominate you president of the board.
Yeah, you know, I like being vice president. I just like, and if I become president,
Nice pay raise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
No time
second.
to be weak now.
It'll be easier.
No time to be weak.
Okay, we've got a second, so
Do it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I accept. Do it.
Beer's on you.
We're not done.
And the vice president, the seat is open.
Okay.
Need nominations.
Well, I would like to put George in the vice presidential position.
Do I have a second? I don't have a second, so at this time, I'm gonna have to hold off on that.
Is that up to the public or?
No.
With a vote.
I believe that we need to fill any position if the board members are on the board.
I don't believe we
You
do.
can have board members 7 or 8 not doing it.
I'm gonna table it, and I'll find out what the actual law is.
Okay.
Okay?
I have one last thing on the new business, if nobody has anything.
Well, I got one question, and I just want to verify if I may. Did we get approval and a second and approval on paying Wheeler the $150
Yes.
to bring everything up to date?
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember.
Yes, we did.
I just wanted to double check.
There's,
Did we vote on the contract?
we did last month.
But you haven't gone and signed one.
Oh, okay, so I'll go down, okay, so I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna entertain a motion to have Wheeler take care of our take care of our check paying. Bill's made the commitment to take him the checks and bring them back here, so
And we've made that, that's been approved.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on forward then. I'll go down there and I'll sign the contract with him and I'll bring a copy back.
I'll go there as well.
Okay, okay.
Oh.
My last thing is I have, Susan Shepherd was kind enough to show up. There's been a lot of things said, a lot of people that had questions. If we can keep it brief, I would appreciate it. Just stick to the facts of the business of the business of the fire department. If you have questions for her, I believe she's here to answer them. So if anybody on the board has any questions, if we could open this door up and then close it so we can move forward with the business, I'd appreciate it. Go ahead, George.
Susan, would you please stand?
Sure.
I took over as president back in April 1. Since that time, you were obligated to send us a report on a monthly basis. To this date, I still have not gotten any.
Okay, can I have like more than 2 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, can I do my report first, and then I think maybe this will answer a whole bunch of questions, okay?
I only have 2 questions.
Well, it's gonna lead to a whole bunch more, so I just wanna clarify. I'm here for questions, I don't have anything to hide. However, the January minutes that are quoted as facts and accusations towards me, I'd like to address those. So-
Which year are we referring to here?
The January board minutes, bottom of second page, where Risa put on here, Steve Rhodes requested the discussion on Susan Shepherd be part of these minutes. The facts are as follows. Starts out, Susan Shepherd was contacted by the board of directors on December 11, 2013. Excuse me. And then she quotes, contractor will develop and review expenses for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2005, June 30, 2006, through fiscal year 2012-13. Quotes, contractor's work will be completed within 60 days of receiving the required documents. If anything should arise that would lead the contractor to believe that this project may take longer, the board president will be notified immediately. Susan Shepherd did, in quotes, in bold, not notify George Coons. The reason I did not notify you is you weren't president then. Bob Russell was.
Correct.
I did notify Bob Russell. He brought the report to you. I did another report and he brought that to you.
Oh, yeah.
Nor,
George, hold on, please.
But I'm
That's
just saying what I have not received.
that's fact, you weren't president, I didn't have to contact you. Okay, so nor did she ever come before the board of the district and request an extension to finish her report. I wasn't required to come to the board to ask for an extension. Contract is right here, does not state that,
What does it say?
just exactly what I read.
60 days, correct?
60, if it was going to take longer than 60 days, I was to contact the board president. I did that. You were not the board president, as it states here.
So-
That is this is incorrect. Okay? Hold your question. Okay, so then she has access to the First Community Credit Union accounts up until September 17th. I'd like to know where September 17th came from. Teresa?
The credit union,
The credit union cut me off from having access to your account.
yes,
Really?
yes.
Because the credit union doesn't authorize or give permission for people to be on the account, the board does.
What happened?
I have,
May I finish? You asked me.
yes.
On September 17th, I was notified prior to that, since I was treasurer. Since I was treasurer, Susan,
I'm listening.
wow. And I was told that they were changing all of their security logins, passwords, the way of doing business because of some new government rules and regulations. At that point, they said I was the only person qualified or authorized or whatever as treasurer at that time to have access. And they sent me the email.
Okay, so that would be okay for you, but the board gave me access and Brad wasn't aware of that. So I had access.
I spoke to him many times after September 17th, and my understanding was that in July, you spoke to George and I, saying that the only thing you needed to finish your report was the debit card.
Pretty much, yeah, just the banks. All I ever did
Well, let me ask you a question then.
was download the bank statement.
If you only needed to finish the debit card in July, after September 17th, it would have been past the time you would have needed the information, correct?
No, because we did, it's.
Because Steve
it's
had,
on-
had resigned, so he wasn't using the debit card anymore, and so there were no more entries.
Right, but nobody was entering, I didn't know the debit card statement even existed,
Well,
because
let-
it does not show up.
Then let
on
me
the
ask
main
you a
statement.
question,
That's when
let
we
me
were
ask you a
notified.
question.
You need to let her finish.
Hold on.
Because this bothers me the most.
Oh, no, it bothers me the most, I'm sure.
No,
Okay, it's not, it's the
let me
board.
ask the question.
Wow.
Get everybody quiet.
Okay, but we need to, this is the confrontation, this is trying to hire something out to make it
Right,
done.
and my problem with this situation was, you never called me. In July, when Steve had resigned and Brad was notified that the login and password had to change, you asked for the new login and password, did you not? And I freely gave it to you. I had no problem at that time. When I was notified by the big change on September 17th, I had no reason to, one, believe that you needed further access, and two, if you did, you could have just asked me, and you didn't.
Let me finish. So the next statement she makes is, and these are statements by you, I did not see this in the video. So September, she had been paid in August 2014, and her contract was finished at that time.
We sent you a
My
letter.
my invoice to you, because it was requested, has a huge statement at the bottom that says, a lot of stuff before it, in last sentence, it says, I will continue to close out the 13-14 fiscal year and present all documents to the accountant, Steve, to share in preparation for the required annual audit. A final report will be presented to the board of directors in the near future. So you
But then
accepted
it
that.
ended in June of 2014.
No, fiscal year ends June of 2014, the paperwork, takes a while to close out your books. You don't, it's set.
I understand, but do you
Okay.
remember an August call that I did make to you and
Just a second.
asked you? I would just,
Hold
this is part of it. I asked if you would give me the information and I would take it to our accountant, since we had sent you a letter and you had been paid, and I was going at that time to just take the rest of the information to Steve to share.
Okay, so I was working with Steve Teixeira, so, and I said I would give the information to him, and I reported that at the September board meeting. So she goes on to say, the access is given to me for the reason. On September 17th, the credit union notified you. Okay. So then, on October 2nd, 2014, Risa Briggs notice from the credit union that had been locked out from banking due to excessive incorrect answers to the authentication. Challenge it. It's probably me, because I'm thinking, man, I forgot this password. I called Steve. Steve, I've got the password. You know what it is?
Why did you
Because it
call
was the
Steve?
debit card.
Why did you call Steve
Because it
without
was
me?
the debit card. Okay, so he goes, I don't know. So I said, well, it says I'll send an email. So how about I'll just do the email and you can just get it. Okay, well, he goes, it didn't go to him. So anyway, then you received a second notification. And this time, I locked everybody out of the account. Okay, it was only the debit card, it wasn't your bank account.
It was the entire account.
I was trying to log into the account. Anyway,
I-
so I have an email on September 12th from you that says, Susan, I got an email from Steve asking for the password and login for the credit union. This is rather a weird situation since we're not supposed to have any contact, etc. Whatever. Makes it very difficult and silly if you ask me. Can't you just give him that information so he can tell Brad at the credit union to let you have access to the debit card? I gave you the login and password when Brad changed it a month or so ago. Brad doesn't change passwords. I'll have to go back down there and give Brad a copy, and it goes on. That was September 12th. And I have my little cheat sheet. You gave me the answers to the questions.
I do.
So, I feel you set me up. September 12th, you told me I needed the passwords. September 17th, you changed them, and you didn't tell me.
I didn't
We're
change
talking
them. The
5.
credit union did.
They don't
They don't
change
change them.
it.
You have to select your own security questions and
Jeez.
everything. I was
Sorry.
contacted,
Anyway,
it
you
happened, and like I said, my disappointment in you is the fact that when I gave it freely to you the first time and you called, why didn't you call me the second time? All I asked for.
Why didn't you tell me? I don't know.
Because, Susan, we had paid you and wrote you a nice letter, and as far as I was concerned, we were done. I didn't think you even needed further confirmation or authorization.
So I really didn't need to give you a report then, because I was really done, right? Right?
Do you have a lot more?
I just have the fact that I was accused, she wrote that I hacked into. That's a pretty serious offense to me. That's a pretty big word.
If you,
That's not true, and I
okay,
would like
well
that
then
taken
who
out.
had to ask for the verification code that came to me? That was the way it was explained to me by the credit union, because I had to go
You
down
don't
there
get
twice.
this when you try your.
Was they said when you asked,
Yeah.
let me, please, people. When I asked them why the verification code request, they said that's so you can get around the security questions. I find that very disturbing, I'm sorry. I would have worked with you had you called me and asked.
Well, you gave me those security questions.
That's right, and I would have given them to you the next time.
You changed them all.
I
Okay,
didn't
okay,
change
so
them.
did Susan do the job that she was paid to do? Did she do the statements that she was paid to do? Everything that she was paid to do, she gave you a statement, she audited, not an audit, they didn't call it, she did a financial statement on the books, was that completed?
I still have yet to see
Yes or no?
one section that I
And,
didn't
well, I'm
see.
sure she's more than happy to give you that section, so let's just get it out now and then we can move on. And what's that section?
It was all of the, and I don't know, if it's there, you got the report, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, and that is all of the deposits that match up to all of the tax revenue checks. For that period.
If I
In
have
Quick
all
and-
the
in
deposits,
QuickBooks.
if
If they
your bank
match, if
account that
the,
match up,
because as I understand it, Susan, and maybe I'm incorrect, but I thought when we first talked to you a year and a half ago or whatever, that one of the things we were going to work on was going back through those years to do the deposits and the tax revenue, because you were working with the courthouse, I believe, the assessor or clerk, but I never saw that section. Maybe you did it, I don't know.
it basically is in that end result. What happened is because of the way they were entered here, just a little bit, not dollar for dollar, that you could match it straight across. But I have all that documentation, all that paperwork.
Would you
Okay.
mind sending her a copy of that?
Yeah, well, no, if it's in the report,
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
I'll send it to you, I still have
The
a copy.
report got cut short, so but it's in there.
Okay.
So
that part's
then,
in there, thank you.
And if we're missing anything, I can get it from you?
you sure can.
Perfect.
It's in big.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so then, I would like that part taken out of the minutes that I tried to hack into the bank accounts, because you quoted, these are facts. And that is not a fact. And then,
What month was that?
January.
January?
January minutes, yes. And then in August, as I remember, okay, that I was given the choice to give the documents to Steve to share myself, or give them to you to give to him. It made more sense, because I was already working with him, to give him the documents myself, for clarity, for ease, and nothing got lost. Just, he had 90% of it anyway. So, and then I was accused, the next thing was, I mailed my report to Robert and not you, as the Secretary Treasurer, or the President, George Coons. The correction is, the report was mailed, first of all, on the 18th of November, I sent George, CC'd Robert an email that said, because they are the President and Vice President, that says, George, I want to touch base with you and let you know that I'm working on the summary, and at that time I received the letter, I had a lot going on for me. I'm at my Oregon Fire Service Office Administrators Conference, which I'm president of, so there's a lot to do before, after, and during. My husband had surgery on his right hand, so he needed help, and because he's right-handed. Then I had the Fire Service Conference, all within 3 weeks. I will have it completed within a week by November 26th or sooner. George answered back, bold, Susan, thank you for the update. It will be good to have this completed so we can move forward. By the way, I'm puzzled why the CC was sent to Vice President rather than the Treasurer. Have a happy Thanksgiving, George. I answered back, the reason it went to the President and Vice President, not the Treasurer, is that the President and Vice President are the powers that be of the board. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Hold on.
Just a minute.
It goes to that subject.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
You earlier indicated, because you were discussing things with Bob Russell, that I wasn't the president, and now you're saying that the vice president is powers to be. When we signed the contract with you, it was the president and the treasurer.
What?
What?
Say that again.
The president and the treasurer.
The contract was every board member.
Yes, we
Sherry,
did sign it,
Ken,
yes, we did, I
you.
understand that.
Okay, it wasn't with the treasurer. Sorry.
Well,
The president, a governing body, the
okay,
president.
I have one final question, and it's very simple, yes or no, why I did not get notified or get the report that I was supposed to receive. You saw fit to send it to the vice president, and that's what started all of this problem.
What? No, I sent it to you.
No, you did not.
The report that you sent here that I got, that you sent to Lookingglass Rural Fire Department,
The
attention
box?
me. Mhm.
It was just a backup copy. You had already got the email. That box came way after I
I got
emailed you
no
the report.
emails.
I have a copy, if anybody wants it, I have a copy of it.
I
Okay.
have it.
Okay,
Right there. Okay, so, but you were not the president when I signed on within the 60 days, so I notified the president. Now you're the president, so then I communicated with you.
only through the budget period
Okay, wait.
that we
okay.
had any discussions.
So what I would
As
like
far,
to say
because
is,
you kept
Hold on,
telling me,
George.
well, let me finish,
I do.
Robert, if you don't want me, fine.
Okay.
Then there's no need for me to be here.
Thank you.
If you wanna keep cutting me off.
George, I'd like to see this. George?
It's the third
If you
time.
want to
he's
email
walked
it
out
to
of
me,
the-
I will send it to him.
Out of 6 meetings, he's
Thank
locked
you.
down of 3.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
time for
So
an
what?
Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa,
You
whoa.
want, you want him to let me ask a question?
She
How's
was
it
still
feel?
talking, George. I need you to calm down. She was still
Give me
talking.
a break.
I did.
Sure you did.
Thank you.
George, these
Stay
are
on.
my email dates I communicated with you and Risa.
Can you copy it to me and I will make
Yes,
sure
I
he gets
can.
it? Thank you.
So I just, sorry. But it is like,
Susan, I just need clarification then. Are you the person who tried to log into our accounts?
like, really, Brianna? I did log in. You verified in your email, I did log in and didn't have the password.
And did you or did you not call me then and ask for the login ID and password to get in?
The first time.
And the second time? Yes or
No,
no?
you know,
Just yes or
no, because I used not the bank statement for the bank. I didn't need to log in.
That's all I needed.
Why does it matter?
Okay, 6 months ago, we do need to move on.
Correct, correct. Here we go. Okay, I've,
Thank you.
Anyway, I watched the video and I'd like just to thank the 3 board members that did support me, and I really wish the department could just move forward.
and we will. Thank you. Thank you. On the president's report, I think I've pretty much gone over what I wanted to. Anybody on the board? Anything to say? Any public comments?
No,
Not on
I
the-
have
go ahead.
something I would
Okay.
like to say, and that is, a couple weeks ago, I sent out an email to all board members, and I'm pretty sure you all got it. And I stated at that time that I was no longer going to do the duties of all the board members, but I was going to, do mine, but I was still willing and able and eager to assist if people asked or needed help. Bill asked, he called me, and I came down and showed you the credit union, right? You asked for help with the agenda, which I wrote for you. However, someone else on this board
Ms.
needed
Hank.
help.
Okay.
Well, you want me to mention
Let's
names?
just
I
say
will.
that's how you fix the problem.
Okay. For the longest time, Hank, I have done what you have been supposed to do.
Don't do it anymore. I'll do it.
I didn't, but that's the problem here. And tonight,
What was the
let me
problem?
finish. I consider this an illegal meeting. I talked to Eileen Eakins today because I wanted to make sure, and she told me flat out, sorry, but she told me to cover my liability for any future problems if anybody has a problem with the meeting here tonight, because it was not properly noticed in the paper, to make a statement that I do not agree with this meeting taking place. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now, in the
Should've done that
future,
at the beginning.
in the future, I need all board members, specifically Hank, to start doing what you swore an oath to do. You have been on this board a year now. You need to learn your duties and at least attempt to do them.
Thank you, Risa.
I think the problem we have is because.
Go ahead, question.
Okay, I'll get to him 1 second. It was being enabled, because I called Bill, I took the initiative to call Bill about payment to make sure that we came down here and we got the checks out. So I guess I took the initiative to do it, and I guess I would expect other people to do that too. That's why it's called a team. So I'm just saying, I knew the checks needed to be, so I called him and I said, let's go down there. Steve says, I'll meet you there so we get everything how it's supposed to be entered. So I guess I got your email at 7:49, I started work at 1:30 in the morning, so I seen it this morning and I addressed it when I woke up and I saw it. I guess I probably, before a fire starts, I have a fire extinguisher, and I would have expected that you would have maybe given him the benefit of the doubt to ask him.
That's why I
to do
gave
that.
every board member a 2 weeks heads up.
That was a very vague heads up, though. You should have said, like, just like me calling him, I could have waited till after the meeting.
Here's the monthly
Yes,
typical
stay ahead of the
things.
curve,
I-
because you have done them, and I thank you for that. But because him and I and Bill don't know the whole protocol of everything we do. I mean, I know as a vice president, I was doing this, and this. Now as president, I gotta figure out what I'm doing, plus the vice president things, but I will get through those, and I'll call you and I'll ask, but if we could just know something's gonna happen, address it before it happens.
When can I expect everyone to know what their duties are? Because we had a training session, Roy, with you and George Dunkel, and that was a very clear message that George Dunkel stood up in front of us and made the point of. Every single board member needs to learn their duties. And I'm afraid that some just have not taken the initiative, and I am not the teacher. George Dunkel did a good job, but some people didn't take it to heart.
Okay, we'll put it on the next month's agenda, we'll see how far it got, it's all in our books. You can read your responsibilities.
So why, could you please explain to me why the meeting is illegal?
Excuse me, Roy, go ahead.
Sorry, Roy.
Again, you're wrong. This is not an illegal meeting. In fact, your own rules say the news media may be used, not mandated. There's only 2 public meetings requiring notification to the newspaper, and this doesn't happen to be one of them. Secondly, this is your normal meeting. Nothing's different. It's not a special meeting. Secondly, you put it on your billboard. You put it on your other places. I don't know where you think you found that it must be in the paper, but that is incorrect. In fact, we talked about this at a meeting before, that it's not required to be in the paper, and they're not required to publish it. So you're calling the attorney, I don't know if that came out of your pocket, unless the board gives you full access to your district's attorney.
It is.
Excuse me?
We have, anybody can call her.
Well, you need to work on that policy, Mr. President.
Yeah.
But this is not an illegal meeting. I've talked to special districts today. I've talked to special district attorney. So I believe this meeting is just fine. And if you want to contest it, you can. The place you take it is the ethics committee. And you have to prove to them that you've tried to not include the public. In fact, I called the news media this morning and reminded them of the meeting, which met that obligation as well.
And you want to know the attorney for the district's response to that?
Sure.
Because I asked her, I made the statement that you had told George that you were going to call the news review and take care of it.
I did.
And she said, you are not a board member and cannot.
I disagree.
Oh, talk to the attorney.
I would disagree because for the time being that I was here, I'm the one that notified the news review every single month, and I've never been a board member in my life. So I don't know what you're talking about, because if you're saying that's true, then that means I was illegal for the entire time I was here, and I guarantee that I don't participate in illegal behavior, ma'am.
I'm just telling you what Eileen Eakins said.
Well,
So who, Mr. President?
Hold on a second.
I just know that I'm of the belief that there's nothing wrong with this meeting. You did not try to deceive the public. You did not try to deceive anybody. You had your normal meeting. What would make this a little bit different is this had been a special meeting, and you created a special meeting 3 days from now and told nobody about it. That would have been a violation. But if you want to contest this, the Ethics Commission is where you'll take it, and your charge will be to prove that they tried to mislead the public by having this meeting. And that was what I got from our attorney, Special Districts, who is in the business of giving this advice.
Well, Eileen Eakins is in the business of giving us advice.
That's okay. That's okay.
It is.
So,
I'm gonna, excuse me one second, I have one more question here, but I'm gonna entertain a motion that it's gotta be board approval to contact the attorney, because it does cost the district money each time it's involved. So I'm gonna entertain, if someone would like to make a motion.
On what grounds?
I think we need,
It was an illegal
I
meeting.
think
Hold on,
we need,
Ken.
Hold on.
not only the attorney, but I don't
Anything
know
that
how
has
to
to
put
do
it,
with the board.
anything that has to do with me, Risa, Bill, and you, and the fire chief has got to be put on the agenda, and it has to be brought up in front of the board.
All decisions, so I'm gonna
All
I'm
decisions.
gonna entertain this, any decision that has to do with the best interest of the board, or of the Lookingglass Rural Fire Department, has to be accepted by the board.
Or any consultant.
Correct, that's contacting the lawyer.
Yeah, call it.
So if someone wants to,
Or contacting anybody that you've,
Anything
hired.
that's consulting,
Yeah.
anything. I don't know how else to put
That
it.
requires a payment.
Correct, yeah, anything that costs, well, they could, there's a lot that
Yes.
costs us.
So the motion is,
That's
Right, I want to word it that board approval is required for any communication that is external contact that could, that affects the outcome of the board's decision, such as an attorney, finances. And you made a motion?
Information Acts.
Just federal information. Hold on one second, please.
a motion to approve the motion that we just said. I can't remember, sorry. As stated.
Is that your motion? Okay.
Yes.
All in favor?
Well, who's second?
Second. Jill, second.
Okay, thank you.
It is approved. Hold on one second. You had a question a couple times, I'm sorry.
The first one was answered before, the second one was in reference to him notifying the public illegally. Did you guys or did you not hire him to come in and help fix this situation?
Yes, we did. Yes, he
So-
does.
So therefore, would he not be considered part of the board because he is in here helping fix?
He's be part of the
No.
payroll, he will be. But we go to
He's
different
a
consulting.
contracted-
He's a
Well,
consulting.
he's
Counsel.
sorry,
Correct, consulting.
I don't know how you put it.
He's a mediator, he help us get through our issues that we're uncertain about.
Does that clarify?
Go ahead, Mark.
Will that be a resolution
Cost us a
that you
lot.
pass that will be added to the bylaws or policy or what?
I gotta check on that, but first I just wanna make sure that it stops right now, just so we can approve it, everybody can talk about it, so just one person doesn't go out and try to take care of things like that. I think the board should be contacted, whether it's a Freedom of Information Act, it's no different than spending money. It's gonna cost you somewhere, so the board should be involved to make those decisions as a group.
Did it, sorry, the policy that we adopted, was it the ethics policy? Or remember the one that Roy kind of put together?
I just gave you.
That could be added to that, correct? Is that something like?
We'd have to rewrite it.
Yeah.
It'd be rewritten.
I think it would be as good as a resolution,
Yeah.
just a resolution.
Anyways,
You wanna write that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So write a resolution, and we'll talk about it next meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, but, what grounds did this come up for you to think that this was an illegal meeting?
Because it was not posted in the newspaper.
Doesn't have to be, only special meetings.
We already talked about it.
She said that a long time ago, she said that herself.
Okay,
Go ahead, because we're gonna try to wrap her here.
okay.
I do have a kind of a problem being a person in the community, that if you all are aware that you are going to drop the ball on something that everybody is aware it needs to be done regardless of whose job it is, I expect you as the board to work together, and if you let something
Thank you.
drop on purpose, you are negligent and you should be held accountable for that.
Thank you.
I think that's inappropriate, you guys should be helping one another.
There's no negligence if it's pre-warned.
It's not, it's negligence because that was intentional.
Courtesy.
It's
toxic
behavior.
Okay, I think we've agreed on that.
No, it isn't.
Does any, go ahead.
Lisa, Susan read an email that you wrote to her tonight. That was part of my public information request. I didn't get that from you.
I don't have it. I can look again, but I didn't notice, I noticed that one too, and I didn't have it.
Okay. If anybody in the audience has a comment, you got 2 minutes, but we're just trying to wrap it up. Go ahead, Ken.
How many times you gonna let George walk out here before you throw him out?
Yeah, unfortunately, the board can't vote in this.
Understand, an elected member to the board, which is who George is, can only be removed by a recall vote of the people.
Regardless of what he resigns.
Or the next
Or the
election.
next election, that is
What
correct.
if you're not doing your duty?
It doesn't matter, you can sit here, you can come to every board meeting and sit here and vote present or abstain or not vote at all. There's nothing, there is no oversight or enforcement for that.
Okay.
I do have a good order if I may.
Okay, go ahead, Roy.
Okay. It was touched on earlier. So special district has reassigned me. I'm going to Pendleton for the next 6 months. So I won't be making your board meetings. However, the president and the board will still have access to me. I would just respect that you realize that I'm working 8 to 5, 5 days a week. So if you call me and you go to voicemail, I'll get to you, or send me an email. Chief Dunkel or George Dunkel will be still involved and engaged, and so I want to make sure you have all his information as well. But I'm going to be 6 hours away, so we're not bailing on you by no means. I just won't be here at your physical meetings until I finish my project in Pendleton as our interim fire chief.
Can I say something?
Good luck to you.
Yeah, can I say something?
Thank you for your help.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. Thanks, Roy. I really appreciate what you've done for me personally since I've been on the board.
Well, you're more than welcome. And just reminding you, my job here is advisory. Anybody has access to me for that purpose. If you ask me a question, I've tried to be honest with you. If you call me, I've tried to be, Steve and I try to talk once or twice a week. My job here is advisory. I can only just give you the best information that I have available to me and try to assist you be successful. And that's really what we're trying to do here is you're heading in, you got a lot of good things going in the right direction. So we'll continue to talk. I just won't see
Board member off. If it has to be.
You can't, it's gotta be on the vote, or they've gotta resign, or they don't show up for 2 meetings.
The only thing the board has access to, and you've already exercised that, at the last meeting, you censured Mr. Coons, meaning that he can't hold a position, and he can't represent the organization to the public. That's what censuring means, okay? You can give it and take it away. It takes 3 votes to make that happen, but you cannot remove somebody from office. You can't do that. Yes, sir.
How does that affect his ability to deal with signing checks and dealing with the bank?
He's gonna take care of that tomorrow.
We addressed that once already, because he and Reese are the only 2 that can do that. Once that account clears, his position, that was a decision they made, to censure him, and they can rescind that. There's a lot of different things they can do, but that's the only authority a board has within itself. Congressmen can be censored. I mean, you can do that all the way up through the food chain if you want to. But you cannot remove a director. That has to be done through recall, or if he chooses not to rerun. I'm not advocating one way or another what he's going to run, but his position is up for election. I think everybody's is, with the exception of Reese's, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay.
Robert?
Yes.
I have something I'd like to say, and I don't know if the timing is ever good, but I've been attending these board meetings since the lock gate debacle, and it really became obvious quickly that senior members of the board were operating by their own set of rules and not necessarily in the best interest of the fire department and community. The outlook seemed a little more hopeful when the board agreed to get the arbitration instruction from the SDAO. Looked like we were going to see a little light at the end of the tunnel. However, it seems like really ironic to me that after the board adopted this code of ethics, the president had to be censured. I think that we have an even more serious problem than that, though. I think our other senior board member has taken it upon herself to represent the board without approval or authorization of the board. And this type of loose cannon activity can only have adverse effects on the fire department. I'm concerned about the possible legal ramifications of some of these actions. I think some of that may be taken care of tonight, but it still seems like it's one of those things that we just had to watch. Therefore, I am respectfully requesting, Risa Briggs, that if you truly have the best interests of the fire department, board, and community, that you resign your position. Failing that, I ask the board to censure Risa as you did George. And if these requests are not or cannot be carried out, be assured there's a committee ready to start a recall.
Do you have anything recent?
I could talk to you about it after the meeting.
I could meet you tomorrow.
Okay.
It's not a meeting that way.
That's fine.
Because don't get me wrong, I appreciate what you brought, you have valid points. I think by making the motion that contact can't be made, I think that's a step in the right direction. I like to see things that's worked, and I think I don't want to say the more rules we have, but the more everybody understands that we're on the same page and we're trying to go for the same goal, I think it's something that we can work with. So we can address it again next month, and because obviously we do it every month, but I appreciate it. If there's nothing else, our next meeting is going to be April 8th, 2015. And I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Excuse me? Entertain a motion. Okay. All in favor? Second it, Nate?
I make a motion.
Nate? Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. I guess I'll see you Saturday.
Everybody has